We welcome you to the SBC Center in San Antonio. It's game 2 of our TNT doubleheader. The Houston Rockets facing the San Antonio Spurs, who are off and running with a record of 6 up and 2 down. Marv Albert with Steve Kerr and Craig Sager, both teams ready to go. So a look at the starting lineups. And first, the Rockets, who this past Tuesday night at Minnesota beat the Timberwolves. Tracy McGrady, Juwan Howard, Yao Ming on the front line, Rafer Alston, Derek Anderson at the guards. For the San Antonio Spurs, who this past Tuesday in Atlanta came from behind, they were down early, beat the Hawks convincingly 103-79. Bruce Bowen with Tim Duncan and Rasho Nesterovic. Tony Parker leads the Spurs, averaging better than 22 points per game. And Manu Ginobili has been playing through that quad injury. Now look at the officiating crew. It's Bob Delaney on the left in his 19th NBA season, Scott Wall and Ron Elysiak. And Steve, Tracy McGrady was a question mark for tonight earlier in the day due to a reoccurrence of his back problem. Here he is in the starting lineup. He will give it a shot.
No, it's great news for Jeff Van Gundy. Remember, Houston is just 0-3 without McGrady in the lineup this year. 3-1 with him. We saw what an effect he had the other night in the fourth quarter of their victory over Minnesota, and against one of the best defensive teams in the NBA here tonight. McGrady's going to have to be playing at a top level if they're going to win the game.
The opening tip controlled by McGrady. Ginobili going for the steal is called for a reach, and Tracy was actually supposed to be sidelined for 3 weeks because of back spasms. He ends up returning last Saturday night after missing only 3 games. Returned against the Nets in New Jersey. Goes 1 for 9 in the first half. And as you have often said, if I go 1 for 9, I stop shooting. Not only that game, maybe for several games. And then he comes back and puts on a show with a sensational finish.
And you were there, Marv. I know you watched it. And an incredible performance by McGrady. That's something that only the true superstars in this league can do. Come back from an injury, shake off a terrible first half, and then explode in the second.
Wide open shot for 3 for Ginobili, rebounded by Yao Ming. Major question for the Rockets, can Yao Ming stay on the floor? He has been in foul trouble almost every game.
That's why he's averaging just over 29 minutes per night this year, and Jeff Van Gundy hoping his center can stay out of those cheap fouls that he's picked up this year.
Tracy McGrady stepping out, the ball back to the Spurs. San Antonio, the defending NBA champions. They've won 2 NBA titles the past 3 years. I mentioned the record 6-2. The 2 losses at Dallas by 19, at Washington by 15 on the first and last games of that recent 5-game road trip. Duncan with the tip. Good second effort by Tim Duncan.
Well, you mentioned the loss in Washington. Greg Popovich is not sure that this team is ready to put forth the type of effort that is really necessary to win a championship. This is a club that knows that a title is won in June, not in November, and they've kind of started off, fine, but they lack that edge that they need down the stretch.
Alston not able to hit, yes. Greg Popovich telling us earlier, despite the record of winning 6 of the first 8, the team is not yet, as he put it, geared up for the challenge. Something
that Detroit obviously is. With Houston, we'll see the Pistons tomorrow night. They're in Houston waiting for the Rockets as we speak, but you look at what Detroit's done, and you watch them play, you can see they've got that hunger, that edge that maybe is missing from San Antonio early in the season.
Yes, Pistons under Flip Saunders now 7-0. Parker with a beautiful move, count it, and a foul.
Tony Parker is so clever in the lane. I talked to Chip England, the Spurs assistant coach today. He said Parker is averaging 8 layups per game this year. Look at the ball fake and another pump fake and the finish, and he got to go to the foul line. Incredible start for this guy on the early season. 57% shooting, 22 points per night, the best start of his career.
And can the Rockets handle Parker off dribble penetration?
That's been their weakness really the past couple of years. Remember the playoff series against Dallas last year? They had a very difficult time keeping the Mavericks out of the lane, and that's the challenge here tonight.
Good position by Yao Ming, and Tracy McGrady was able to recognize it. Got him the ball in perfect position.
And that's what T-Mac does for Yao and for the rest of his teammates. He gives them much easier looks than they otherwise would have.
just underway here in San Antonio. Duncan tried to go glass, handled by Alston. Howard, once you get inside, Yao stripped. Combination of Nesterovic and Ginobili make the play. Oh, what a move by Ginobili. Went to the crossover and then the left-handed layup.
Remember, Ginobili's coming off 2 huge games, 24 and 28 points in his last 2 outings. He was injured early in the season, had that quad contusion, just now starting to feel healthy, and he looks it.
Now putting on a series of moves. Parker with the rebound. San Antonio on the run. Houston getting back. 7-2 lead here at the start for the Spurs. Parker knocked aside by Yao. Shot clock to 5. Duncan. Time try to force the issue over Yao Ming, and last touched by Duncan.
Well, great help by Yao Ming coming from the weak side and holding his ground. That's an area where he has picked up a lot of cheap fouls, coming over late in the play, and maybe a little bump gets him into foul trouble. That time he gets there early enough to absorb the contact while he's in good position.
Nice give and go. McGrady had to give it up though. Anderson dunked it on the rebound. And Parker able to get inside, looking for help. And it's a 3-second violation, had nowhere to go.
You know, I think if Tony Parker has a weakness, and they are vanishing quickly as his career goes on, but he tends to over-penetrate at times. I think he can probably dish the ball off a little sooner at times, maybe around the elbow foul line area for open looks for his teammates, but he occasionally will get himself into trouble down near the block.
For the Rockets, this the final game of a very tough 5-game road trip. They split the first 4, beat the Nets and the Timberwolves. They lost to Miami and Boston. There you see the 5-game trip, as you mentioned. They're back home for Detroit. So San Antonio tonight, Detroit tomorrow night. Very nice back-to-back for the Rockets. Yao Ming able to reach for it. And it's put home on the follow by Derek Anderson.
Well, of course, as soon as they play Detroit tomorrow night, then they go right back out on the road. They play Indiana and Dallas. So Jeff Van Gundy telling us that the scheduling adversity that every team faces at some point in the league is catching up to his team right away this season.
Duncan, wide open shot for Tim Duncan. Jeff Van Gundy was not pleased with the play of his team at the start of the season. They were without Tracy McGrady after that opening game, and I like the quote from Jeff. He said, "We're moving at glacial speed. When I watch this play, I have to keep hitting the remote to see that it's not in slow motion."
Part of the Jeff Van Gundy comedy hour that comes up pretty much every night.
Alston for 3. Rebounded by Ginobili.
Well, a big part of the Rockets' early season struggles is the lack of perimeter shooting, and obviously some of that has to do with McGrady's absence, but sooner or later these Rocket perimeter players have to knock down some shots.
Rockets with the ball, they're down 9-4. Going all over McGrady. Yao Ming, what a beautiful look from Tracy McGrady. He was double teamed and he found Yao.
Well, he's so tall and he's so good with the ball that he ends up in terrific passing angles. Reminds me a little bit of Magic Johnson in his prime. Got that big size advantage over your defender. You can see over the defender, and this is what happens. You find a teammate cutting to the rim for an easy 2.
The NBA on TNT, brought to you by Southwest Airlines, official airline of the NBA. Southwest Airlines, a symbol of freedom. By the all-new supercharged Range Rover Sport. Experience the new rush at your local Land Rover retailer. By T-Mobile, get more minutes, more features, more service. And by K-Swiss.
Back in San Antonio, let's go over to Craig Sager with tonight's Land Rover sideline report. Here's Craig.
Well, during this team timeout, T-Mac is sitting on the bench with a heat pack on his back to keep that lower back loose. Today, when it tightened up at the shoot-around, Jeff Van Gundy said it was highly unlikely that he would play tonight. But that was before a call was made to Stacy Hernandez, a myofascial massage therapist who flew in from Houston and worked with McGrady all afternoon. Instead of centering on the lower back, she focused on the hips and thighs. That loosened the sheath or the connective tissue that adheres to the back muscles. As a result, the back was loose. T-Mac said it was pain-free, and he is playing tonight. Again, for precaution, he will be applied during the timeouts and also at halftime.
All right, thanks, Craig. Steve, you may be looking for that type of massage in the future.
I was thinking maybe a facial before the next game.
Here's Duncan, rejected, it'll count. It's a goaltend. Yao Ming called for goaltending, so San Antonio now leads 11-6.
I like to see that type of activity out of Yao. He's got 6 shot attempts already here in the early going, and Tracy McGrady, as you mentioned during the break, Marv, has not attempted a shot yet. I like that. Even when you're injured as a player, sometimes you want to just ease in. You've also got Bruce Bowen guarding you, so got to settle into the game, kind of find your way.
Now McGrady with his first shot attempt, deflected out of bounds, last touched by the Spurs. And Robert Horry, one-time Houston Rocket, getting set to check in. San Antonio with a substitution, Melvin Sanders, recent addition to the squad, rookie from Oklahoma State, who was not drafted, comes out of the D-League where he was with the Dakota Wizards for the last couple of years, making early entry, or as Greg Popovich refers to Melvin Sanders as Marvin Hamlish. I don't know where that came from, but he was a little perplexed about the name. Here's Duncan, and rebounded by McGrady.
I'm sure Melvin's family members are thrilled right now to know that his coach is calling him Marvin Hamlish,
who is a very talented fellow. Here's Yao Ming. Melvin Sanders among the Spurs' final cuts in training camp and was signed when Michael Finley was injured. San Antonio without Finley and without Brent Barry, also sidelined.
A lot of new faces on the Spurs team. There's Sanders. Now Alex Scales was also signed today by the Spurs, who was cut by Seattle after training camp. And of course, there's Scales, but you've got Michael Finley and Brent Barry both injured. And you know, this is a very old reserve unit for San Antonio. Their top 6 reserve players are an average of 32 years of age. And as Nick Van Exel pointed out, you know, this could be a problem all season long. You've got an older crop of players. You could have guys going in and out of the lineup.
Kept alive by the Spurs. Parker. That will not count. Foul before the shot. It is on Rafer Alston. That's his second. Now, I really felt bad for you because Alex Scales, who was just signed today, was given number 25, your old number, as a member of the San Antonio Spurs. That is blasphemy.
Yeah, you know, shocking that a guy who averaged 4 points a game
not there
during his career wouldn't have his number up there next to those storied names. I'm very upset.
Just under 5 remaining in this first quarter. Here's Bowen. Sanders kept it alive on a back tap. Comes to Horry. Yet another possession for the Spurs.
Offensive rebound, such a killer, and Houston has had trouble on the boards. Remember, without Bobby Sura, one of the best defensive rebounding guards in the NBA, this team has struggled on the glass this year.
A beautiful pass. Parker sipping it down low to Horry. Spurs now lead 13-8.
Well, how happy was Greg Popovich the other night when Parker had 8 assists and no turnovers in the victory over Atlanta? That's another area of his game that he has really improved.
Howard missing the easy jumper from in close. Bowen gets it down low. Here's Duncan. This the second of our doubleheader here on TNT. Earlier, Minnesota defeated Washington 109 to 98, led by Kevin Garnett. McGrady draws the foul. He'll head to the line. Kevin Garnett, 25 points, 13 rebounds, and 9 assists. Gilbert Arenas with 33 points. You're still upset about number 25 being on the floor.
I'm just gonna settle in. Yeah, I'm down. I'm gonna try to settle in for a few moments. I'll bounce back though.
Did they check with you before this, or they just went ahead?
No, they didn't call. Did they call you by any chance?
They did.
Oh, really?
I said,
go ahead, give it to them.
No problem. First point for Tracy McGrady. We're talking about that incredible performance the other night against the Nets after the 1 for 9 in the first half. He scores 30 in the second half, 20 in the fourth quarter, and finished with 35 points and 10 rebounds.
Well, and even on the nights when he doesn't shoot the ball well, like in Minneapolis the other night, 6 for 18 from the field, but he goes 13 for 13 from the line, and he sets up Rafer Alston for the 2 key buckets late in the game, both layups. So McGrady is a guy who the offense runs through, basically, for Houston, and without him, this team really struggles to score.
And Sanders with it. Horry over Howard. Robert Horry with the bank shot.
Nice feed from Marvin Hamlish. Excuse me, Melvin Sanders. I'm sorry. We got to get rid of that.
Marvin will appreciate the extra exposure. Spurs lead by 5, just under 3 to play in this first quarter. And that pass from Anderson ends up in the hands of Jeff Van Gundy, who is not happy.
A terrific defense by Sanders. We just saw him make a nice pass at one end, which we'll see here in a moment on the Horry bucket. There's the feed, and Horry with a nice little jump hook. And then at the other end, terrific defense by Sanders. Spurs with an early 5-point lead here in San Antonio thanks to 12 points in the paint. We're going to look at a few of them right here. Duncan on the tip-in. There's Tony Parker with his penetration that leads to the flip. Ginobili getting right into the teeth of the Rocket defense for the lay-in. And then in the half-court execution, Parker finding Robert Horry for the little jump hook. And this is no accident. San Antonio leading the NBA in points in the paint. You see 48 per night. And look at Houston, just 28.6. Part of that, Marv, is that Houston plays a very slow pace. They don't get any fast break hoops, but some of it is a lack of penetration. San Antonio, on the other hand, gets such great penetration from Parker and Ginobili, and that's why Jeff Van Gundy told us earlier, one of the keys tonight, their main key, keeping those guards out of the paint.
And the Rockets struggling, only 4 of 15 from the field. Last touch by Nesterovic. So Houston will get it back. Rockets with 18 possessions thus far in this first quarter and only 5 scores.
But they've got to knock down shots. I mean, this is a Spurs defense that is going to pack it in. They're going to play in the lane. They're going to play you one-on-one, play you tough. And any open look you get, you've got to knock down.
John Barry has come on for the first time, as has Nick Van Exel. They are matched up. So Barry and Wesley in the backcourt with Yao and Howard and Anderson on the front line. Shot clock down to 6. Juwan Howard putting moves on Robert Horry. Horry with the box out rebound.
That's why Horry is such a great asset to this team. He's a terrifically versatile defensive player and a nice offensive player, as you see, with a beautiful feed to Nesterovic.
Beautiful pass from Horry. Spurs with a 17-10 lead. Jeff Van Gundy will send on Stromile Swift in a moment. And pass deflected. Here's Ginobili on a breakaway. San Antonio by 9.
I'd say Ginobili's feeling better. Marv, that hip injury not bothering him anymore. And you see Horry with a good defense, but San Antonio now starting to pick up the tempo.
Ginobili, 4-3. Rebounded by Wesley. Coming up on 1 minute to play in this first quarter. Marv Albert, Steve Kerr, Craig Sager. We're in San Antonio, Texas. Howard. And the poor shooting by the Rockets continues. 4 of 18. Here's Van Exel. Howard is on it.
Well, Greg Popovich told us today, Marv, that his team has to pick up the pace. He knows that Houston wants to play a slow-down game, and San Antonio, with the advantage on the perimeter with their athletes, they've got to pick up the pace a little bit, force the tempo.
Wesley for three, way off. Ginobili. Parker had it knocked away. Oh, beautiful play by Barry. Barry to the crossover, and then pass picked off by Ori. 2-on-1 with Yao back. Parker all the way. That was impressive.
Now, this game has taken a decided shift in momentum just the last few minutes. Ever since Nick Van Exel came in the ballgame, you can see he is actively trying to push the ball. And San Antonio now changing the pace, and that is absolutely in their favor.
8 unanswered for the Spurs. Were final seconds of the first. Here's Yao Ming. And that's the first field goal in some time for the Rockets. Parker, does he get it off on time? Yes! That's a three-pointer. That was a teardrop thrown from downtown by Parker. They'll review it.
That was also the longest second and a half I have ever seen. That buzzer should have gone off when he was at about half court, and this will be reviewed. Let's take a look and see if he gets it off. No, I don't think he got it. I think there's a clock problem too, Marv.
Steve, the officiating crew did review that last second shot attempt by Tony Parker, and they say no basket. It appeared that the clock actually started late.
Yeah, I think it was disallowed on 2 counts. Number one is the clock right there. You see the buzzer going off before Parker releases the ball. But number 2 is he took 3 dribbles in 1.5 seconds. You saw the Rockets all complaining during the timeout. Greg Popovich not really putting up much of a fight. He just asked for an explanation. And clearly the officials got this right, and that basket should not have been allowed.
So the Spurs lead at 21-12 as we head to the second quarter. 12 points, a low for the season for the Rockets, who shot only 5 of 20 from the field. San Antonio with 19 of their 21 points in the paint.
And the Rockets, of course, their key coming in tonight, as Jeff Van Gundy told us, keep San Antonio out of the lane. They weren't able to do that at all. And Houston only 2 trips to the foul line. So if you're going to miss all your shots, you've got to at least get to the line. But with Tracy McGrady on the bench, you don't really have that one guy who can create some contact and get to the free throw line.
And it's apparent that Tracy McGrady, although he's in the starting lineup, we heard from Greg earlier telling us that it was a major question as to whether he would play tonight because of the back spasms, but he is not the same guy. Beautifully done as Parker finds Ginobili on the lob to open up the second quarter.
Well, that's every coach's dream. You call a timeout, or there's a stoppage in play. In this case, the end of the first quarter, you draw up a play, you get a lob pass for an easy lay, and Greg Popovich absolutely loves that.
Stromile Swift on the floor for Houston, as is the rookie from Illinois, Luther Head, and a foul on San Antonio. It is on Ginobili. That's his second.
Well, here's the play that Popovich drew up during the timeout. Ginobili comes out, little dribble handoff, and then the back pick from Robert Horry leads to the easy 2. Great coaches always have something good coming out of timeouts, and they come up with new plays game in and game out. They know that everybody's scouting. So much scouting going on out there that everybody knows what everybody else runs. So coaches like Greg Popovich, Jeff Van Gundy, these guys add new stuff every game, a little wrinkle here or there, and get an occasional extra bucket.
Stromile Swift signed as a free agent from the Grizzlies. In Memphis last year, Swift averaged 10 points, 5 rebounds, played about 21 minutes a game. Rockets have been using him off the bench. 23-14, Spurs with the lead. Here's Van Exel for 3. Rebounded by Yao Ming. It has been a long time between victories for the Rockets here in San Antonio. Spurs have won 15 straight at home against Houston. The last Rocket win here in San Antonio, April of 1997. Beautiful hook by Yao Ming. Going glass.
And the last Rocket victory here in this city was at the Alamo Dome. Our buddy Charles Barkley had 24 points and 14 boards. That was a long time ago.
Esterovich lost it. Taken away by Head.
Incidentally, most of that winning streak has taken place since Tim Duncan has been here.
Yes.
Call it coincidence. Call it what you will.
No coincidence. Here's Head. And he thought he was fouled. Luther Head, good-looking rookie, first-round draft pick out of Illinois.
Did not play last game, Marvin, with the injury to McGrady and the question mark about whether he would play. Head has come in here and given Houston some energy here early going.
Or he sets the screen. Ginobili slithers his way, somehow finding the space to make the move and get inside, and he drew the foul. It is on Swift.
Well, slithering is right, and he finds angles that nobody else in the league finds, Marv. I've seen him dribble through the defender's legs, around them, either hand, around his back, and that is a clear indication that his quad is feeling much better.
And he was held by Wesley as Ginobili tried to cut from right to left.
The injuries really bothered Ginobili's outside shot. He's a player who sets up his outside game by using his drive. Some guys do the opposite, but Ginobili backs the defender off with his penetration threat, and then he'll take the outside shot, but he wasn't able to really attack defenders while he had that injury.
Talking with Manu earlier, said it affected his bounce on the jumper. And the outside official, Ron Elysiak, calling the foul. It is on the Spurs. And now they say 3-second violation. We are early second quarter, and the Spurs with a 23-18 lead on Houston. Yao Ming has done most of the scoring, 5 of the 7 Rocket field goals. Marion nowhere to go, and it's picked up by Esterovich. Here's Parker with Wesley back. Lost it. Clean block, says the official Scott Wall. Yao on the drive. Tried the finger roll.
Now it's a tough spot for Yao Ming to be put in, as Robert Horry looks like he's shaken up with a possible shoulder injury, and a 20-second timeout will be called by the Spurs. I think now they're going to take a tough spot for Yao Ming to be put in, running full speed and catching the ball on the foul line on the fast break.
Looked like Horry got clipped off that drive by Yao. We'll be right back. Back in San Antonio, time for Toyota moving forward, and as strong as the San Antonio Spurs were coming off another championship, they strengthened their team with these 3 additions. Michael Finley, who is sidelined by a pulled groin, but a huge pickup along with Nick Van Exel. And by way of Argentina, Fabricio Alberto, who we have not seen yet tonight, but a valuable addition. 10 of the 13 players on San Antonio's roster coming into the season, holdovers from last year. 4 of the 5 starters beginning their 4th season together.
Now, amazing you can have that kind of continuity and yet still add so many important additions, as you see. Esterovich fumbled the pass from Van Exel, but all 3 of those guys will be factors. Alberto had a nice game against Atlanta, 8 points and 8 boards in about 20 minutes of play. And of course, Van Exel and Finley, with their track records, they'll be big additions.
Here's Luther Head for 3. That's his 2nd field goal. Dikembe Mutombo has checked in for Yao Ming, who sits down 5 of 12, 10 points. And despite that poor first quarter by the Rockets, a season-low 12, they are within 2. 9-0 run by Houston. Duncan getting position. The tip by Esterovich.
Well, the Rockets have climbed back in this thing by being pretty solid on the boards. Now, of course, they gave up an easy one there, but Luther Head's come in here and given them some energy. That's been a problem for this club for the last couple of years. Energy and youth. That's why they picked Luther Head in the first round.
And as you see, Tracy McGrady back on the floor. Guarded tightly by Bruce Bowen. Here's McGrady. Last touch by the Rockets.
How about the job of Bruce Bowen just such an incredible defensive player, and he just guards whoever Greg Popovich asks him to. Obviously tonight he's asked to cover McGrady. The other night, Al Harrington came into this building, had 22 points for the Hawks in the first quarter. Popovich said, all right, Bruce, your turn, go guard him. Harrington went 0 for 7 the rest of the day, scored just 1 more point. So they sick him on whoever they need to. He's a defensive weapon.
Mito Udrih has checked in at the point for San Antonio. Duncan from Udrih. Rockets have Mutombo up front along with McGrady and Swift. Head and Wesley in the backcourt, although McGrady obviously handles the ball most of the time. Here's McGrady trying to shoot his way into it. He is obviously struggling big time.
Oh, and he's got Bowen draped all over him. He's 0 for 4 tonight, but as you mentioned earlier, 1 for 9 against New Jersey early and then had 30 points in the second half.
Nazim Muhammad, who just came on for Rusho Nesterovic, connecting on his first attempt.
It's really been a mishmash of lineups and rotations for San Antonio, not only in this game, but throughout this season. His head throws the ball away, trying to find Swift on a cut. And Jeff Van Gundy will call for a timeout, but the Spurs still trying to find themselves here in the early going. A lot of injuries, a lot of new additions. Popovich putting together a lot of different combinations.
So 5 minutes gone by here in the second. The Spurs up 29-21. Is it mismatch or mishmash?
Mishmash. Thank you for correcting me.
Very important.
Or mash, whatever.
The NBA on TNT. Brought to you by Philips Flat TV with Ambilight. You'll never go back to ordinary TV. And by Adidas Basketball. Impossible is nothing.
Reminder, national coverage of the NBA continues this week. Tomorrow night on ESPN, it'll be the Magic and the Cavaliers, followed by the Pistons and these Houston Rockets. Coverage starting 7 o'clock Eastern time, and then Saturday on NBA TV, it's the Suns and the Spurs beginning 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. Spurs with a 29-21 lead on the Rockets. Just under 7 minutes remaining in the first half. Van Exel with a step back. Yes. Van Exel with his first bucket. And that extends to a 31-21 San Antonio lead.
Well, the injuries to Barry and Finley. Van Exel getting a chance to play the two-guard position here tonight. He's very comfortable in that role. Remember, he played a lot with Steve Nash in Dallas a couple of years ago.
Mutombo keeps it alive. They get the new clock. San Antonio with 8 unanswered after that 9-0 run by the Rockets. And that hit underneath the backboard, apparently deflected by the Spurs. So the Rockets maintain possession as Yao Ming checks back in, replacing Dikembe Mutombo.
I thought Bob Cousy had an interesting comment about the Spurs the other night in Boston. He said, you know, San Antonio is one of the only teams I've ever seen that can control its own momentum. And I think the reason they're able to do that is because they play such good defense, and they'll go through an offensive lull where they can't score, but they know they can turn that defense on. Detroit's the same way. Each team controls momentum through defense. That's why they're probably the 2 best teams in the NBA.
And Greg Popovich very pleased about the composure of the Spurs the other night. They're down 31-18 to the Hawks in Atlanta. He said they didn't try to come back one-on-one. They did it as a team as Duncan banks it home. San Antonio shooting 52% for the night, led by Ginobili and Duncan and Parker.
And Houston at just 27% now, 8 for 30. They've got to find a hot hand here.
Bowen on Wesley. There's the double on Swift, and he's hit on a reach, and as Van Exel came over to try and help.
Greg Popovich furious, I think, at Van Exel because he doesn't want to double team Stromile Swift with Tim Duncan down on the block. Van Exel left McGrady to go double team on Swift, and you see Popovich taking Van Exel out. He's going to have a little chat with him. Well, maybe not. He's a veteran. He'll let him slide on this one.
And the foul was called on Duncan, his first. 5.5 remaining in this first half. Nazir Muhammad knocking it out of the hand of Tracy McGrady. Houston Rockets at 3 up and 4 down last year. Remember, they started at 6 and 11 and then turned it around and came on strong at the end, winning their final 7 games of the season. Shot clock down at 3. Here's Yao Ming.
Well, you mentioned that hot streak at the end of last season, Marvin, and they really wanted to avoid a slow start here this year because of what happened a year ago. Hot streak, yes, but they ended up with the number 5 seed in the West, and as a result had to go on the road and lost to Dallas in the first round. You see Udry on the jumper missing, but Houston would love to get a home court advantage this year. I know it's early, but in this division, trying to beat San Antonio is going to be difficult. McGrady picking up the foul, but to get a home court advantage, you've got to get that 4th seed, and it's going to be tough if they get off to a slow start here.
Foul on Nazir Muhammad, so Tracy McGrady to the line. Let's see what's on TNT.
Yeah, let's.
Police forces, bodies protecting, prosecuting, law and order. The people possess a fundamental right for law and order. Get your Law and Order. Sundays starting at 6 on TNT.
All right, so Tracy McGrady hitting on the first. He's 0 for 5 from the field, 3 of 3 at the foul line.
Very few players in the NBA, I think, can shake off an 0 for 5 start, especially a perimeter guy. Last week we saw Dwayne Wade start out about 0 for 7, 0 for 8, and then came back and had a big second half. But Grady, I guarantee you, is not worried about being 0 for 5. He knows he can get it going at any moment.
As we saw Saturday night in the game against the Nets when he opened up at 1 of 9. Parker passes on the shot. Here's Bowen with 1 on the 24. Loves the corner 3.
And beautiful patience by Tony Parker. He had a 3, but he drew 2 defenders, made the extra pass, and he knows Bowen is lethal from that corner.
San Antonio up by 11. Swift lost it. Last touch by Duncan.
Tony Parker has eschewed the 3-point shot this year, Mark. He's eschewed it. Yeah, I wanted to get that word in. I looked at my thesaurus this morning. 0 for 4 on the season. Remember, this is a guy who's shot almost 200 3-point attempts in his career, but he passes it up. He finds the open man. You love that word.
For a moment, I thought you were in the throes of a sneeze.
That's you. Well, before we talked about Tony Parker eschewing the 3-point shot, I think he's become a much more efficient player, and he's off to a much better start. You look at last year, just 11 points per game and 35% shooting through 8 games. This season, the hot start, and I think a big part of it is that his shot selection has really improved. He's not a great 3-point shooter, so instead use that tremendous speed, get into the lane, take some easier shots, and that's what he's done.
Well, Tracy McGrady now 0 for 6. Woodrick had an ocean, drives it, finds Parker, and the rebound handled by McGrady. McGrady lost it. Here's Duncan leading the break. Parker whipping by Strohmeyer Swift.
There's another one of those 8 layups per game that he's averaged on this season. An incredible number, and if you're Jeff Van Gundy, you're going crazy. Every turnover seems to turn into a couple of points around the rim for the Spurs.
Quick move by Yao Ming. It counts on the foul. What a head fake as he beats Nazir Muhammad along the baseline.
Boy, he's gotten so much better with this particular move in the last couple of years. Quicker than you think. For a guy 7'6", he's pretty nimble on his feet, and he goes right around Muhammad for the slam.
Yao looking for his 15th point. Solid foul shooter, right around 80% over his career. John Barry checks back in, and Tracy McGrady will sit down. So Yao Ming, as I mentioned, 7 of 14. The rest of the Rockets, 3 of 19 from the field.
Well, they haven't been able to generate any kind of offensive rhythm, and a lot of that is just San Antonio's defense. But this is a Houston club that has struggled offensively all season long, and tough to get anything going against this defense.
Mary tried to draw the foul. Change of pace move by Alston, but Bowen picking up on Rafer Alston, stays right with him. Battle between Yao and Azi Muhammad. Here's Head, changed his mind. He was about to shoot a three. Swift gives it right back. Here's Head for three. Luther Head with his second from downtown.
Well, he got a second chance after he probably should have taken the first jump shot that he had available. Turns it over, gets it back, knocks down the three. Head has played very well here.
Spurs up by 7, just under 2.5 to play in the first half. Parker gets inside again and scores! Oh, a sensational move by Tony Parker.
How did he get that shot off between Swift and Yao Ming, and then puts the English on the glass to get it to go? Incredible shot from Tony Parker.
Foul on Muhammad. That is his third, and a timeout taken with 2:09 left, first half.
Well, you know he's going to get to the rim, but how's he going to get that shot off? He finds a way. Incredible.
Welcome back to San Antonio. Tony Parker with 9 points and 5 assists. And on this edition of NBA Planet, we look at the rapping talents of Tony Parker. Following the Spurs championship victory parade in June, Parker began rapping in French in front of a sold-out Alamo Dome crowd. And then a day before the regular season started, with girlfriend Eva Longoria on hand, Parker made a music video here in San Antonio that will be released early next year. And tonight on Inside the NBA, NBA Planet takes you to South Africa with the Kembe Mutombo, who also brought his college coach, John Thompson, along with him. That's tonight on Inside the NBA. Marv?
All right, thank you, Craig. With 2:09 left in this first half, Spurs now lead at 40-31. Yao Ming looking for his 16th point, now 1 of 2 at the foul line. He's been the offense for the Rockets. 7 field goals. Only Luther Head has been able to contribute with a couple of three-pointers, 3 or 4 from the field.
Well, we talked about it earlier. This is a Houston team that has struggled offensively all season long. You see Duncan with the bank shot, can't get it to go, but Houston 29th in the league in field goal percentage, 28th in field goal attempts, 30th in points in the paint, so nothing comes easy for this team. Now they have to play a San Antonio team that excels defensively.
And Jeff Van Gundy cannot be happy about what he's watching at the defensive end, as Manu Ginobili was able to penetrate. He and Parker have been killing the Rockets.
32 points in the paint for San Antonio. And remember, Jeff told us today, our key is keeping the guards out of the lane. They have not done that.
Nice touch by Yao. 42-34 San Antonio. Marv Albert with Steve Kerr and Craig Sager with the SBC Center in the Alamo City. Here's Duncan showing us that bank shot. 2 more for Tim Duncan. He now has 12 and a 10-point San Antonio lead.
Well, if Houston can close this final minute strongly, maybe get a couple of buckets, still a very close game. Marvin Swift knocks down the jumper. And that's what happens with a Houston team that plays such a slow pace. They kind of grind it out. Even though they're shooting 36%, even though they're struggling to find anything, here it is halftime, an 8-point game, and see if they can cut it closer.
Well, Parker penetrates, and Duncan is right there.
They are just going right through this Rocket defense.
Once again, Spurs up by 10, half-minute left in the first half. And last touch by the Spurs. Rockets finishing up a difficult 5-game road journey. Split the first 4, beating the Nets and T-Wolves, losing to Miami and Boston, and they're back home tomorrow night for the 7-0 Detroit Pistons.
Man, if they look good. I think they're enjoying playing for Flip Saunders. They're scoring about 7 more points per game than they did a year ago. Obviously playing with an edge about them.
In fact, this is the 3rd best start in Piston history. They opened at 9-0 back in 1970 to 8-0 in 88. Tracy McGrady back on the floor. Yao able to chase down, and then it's deflected out. Last touch by Yao Ming.
That's a big play. I think Jeff Van Gundy really would have liked to get that lead under double digits, and instead of getting the ball out and a chance to run the clock down for the last shot, Nesterovic knocks it off Yao's leg, and now it's San Antonio's turn to take the final attempt.
Now Dikembe Mutombo will come on. Jeff Van Gundy does not want Yao Ming to pick up a foul here with 17 seconds remaining. Yao has been in foul trouble all season long. Does not have a foul in this first half.
He's done a nice job of avoiding the cheap ones. Van Gundy talked to us about how Yao picks up 3 good fouls per game, but 2 cheap ones where he's just in the wrong position, maybe a step slow rotating over, but that bodes well for this Rocket team in the second half. Yao can be very aggressive defensively.
Ryan Bowen also comes on for the first time for the Rockets. Spurs can hold for a final shot of the first half. Down to 10 seconds. Ginobili, played by Bowen. Ginobili putting moves on Bowen. And the foul is called. Rockets had a foul to give. So we're down to 5 8/10 seconds.
Smart play by Bowen. He knew they had one to give, and now Popovich will call the timeout. Draw something up here for the final few seconds.
Steve, I pose this question to you. Would you like more inside the NBA? Well, you can catch the show as well as other exclusive content in the morning with TNT Overtime on NBA.com.
You pose the question to me, and then you neglect to wait for the answer. You were posing it to yourself is what it comes down to. Go ahead, you take the rest of the half, Mark.
It was a cheap attempt at a transition.
Didn't work.
Yeah. 5 8/10 seconds left in this first half. San Antonio with a 10-point lead. They've led all the way. They've led by as many as 13. Rockets with only 12 points in the first quarter. That is a season low. Ginobili looking to inbound. Duncan back to Ginobili. Puts the move on. Mutombo, yes, and the foul.
What a beautiful play drawn up in the 22nd timeout. That was unbelievable how it unfolded. You'll see a series of picks, and finally Tim Duncan is going to come catch the ball. Watch, here's the final pick that occurs, and then Ginobili, who makes the feed, just runs right off of Duncan. The nice bounce pass, the bucket, and the foul. Remember, about 40 seconds left in this half. Swift hit the jumper, cut it to 8 points. The Rockets had a chance to really make things close, but the Spurs, with a big spurt here, now have a chance to go up 13 at the half.
Otto Ginobili looking for his 11th point. 3-point play. 3 3/10 seconds left of the half. McGrady has to hustle with Bowen all over him. Here's McGrady from center court, just off the mark. Halftime in San Antonio. The Spurs with a 49-36 lead on the Rockets. San Antonio shoots 55% in the first half, 23 out of 42. Rockets just 34. Yao Ming led Houston with 18 on 8 of 16 from the field. High point men for the Spurs. Tim Duncan, 14 along with 7 rebounds. Manu Ginobili finished with that 3-point play. He has 11. And Tony Parker, an impressive first half, 9 points, 6 assists. He's with Craig.
Well, Tony, Jeff Van Gundy told us today his #1 priority was keeping you and Manu out of the lane. But every time we look up, there you are penetrating. 9 points, 6 assists. What are you doing to break down their D?
Just try to be aggressive, try to be in attack mode. I think we're doing a good job moving the ball, and we established Timmy inside, so then they open up for me and Manu.
What about defensively? Obviously, you guys pride yourself on defense. What do you have to do differently maybe to help out on Yao in the second half?
Yeah, maybe do a better job on Yao. He's hurting us a little bit inside, but I think overall we're doing a great job. Bruce doing a good job on T-Mac. They only scored 36 points, so I think we're in pretty good shape. We just have to play Sam D, match their energy, and control the boards.
All right, thanks a lot, Tony. Now let's go to Ernie Johnson, our TNT Arena in Atlanta. EJ.
We are back at the SBC Center, San Antonio. Tonight's helicopter aerials of the Alamo City are brought to you in high definition by Phillips. A 49-36 San Antonio lead over Houston as we head to the second half. Marv Albert with Steve Kerr and Craig Sager. We said prior to the start of the game that Tracy McGrady was a question mark because of the reoccurrence of the back spasm injury, but giving it a go. However, he has struggled 0 for 7 in the first half, and he is facing Bruce Bowen.
Yeah, it's bad enough when you're injured and you're trying to find your game, but then you have to go against maybe the NBA's best perimeter defensive player. That's a difficult task, and Bowen was all over McGrady. You see how he chases him over screens into the Spurs help. That's exactly what Greg Popovich has designed over the years, and Bowen, the perfect perimeter defender to complement the Spurs interior defenders. Every time he's forcing him baseline into the Spurs help, and McGrady very frustrated here in the early going. 0 of 7 as you mentioned, but of course we have seen McGrady many times in the past, Marv, come up with huge second halves in situations like these.
San Antonio shooting 55% from the field in the first half, 23 of 42. Rockets only 34%. Here is Duncan, and Spurs continue on.
I heard Kenny Smith at halftime talk about the Spurs offensive execution, and that's what good teams do. He's absolutely right. First possession of the half, 4 or 5 passes, a wide open look for Duncan.
This is the biggest lead of the night for San Antonio. Here is McGrady. Well, Tracy missing his first 7 and connects on his first shot here in the third quarter.
Well, Van Gundy knows where his bread is butter. I mean, he comes right out of the half and says, all right, I'm going to get an open look for Tracy McGrady. They have to get him going if they have any hope of winning this game.
High man for San Antonio is Tim Duncan with 16, and a foul is called. That's the first on Yao as we check out tonight's Jeep game summary. We mentioned the shooting differential. Look at points in the paint. San Antonio 36 to 14.
Unbelievable. That's a direct result mostly of the penetration of Parker and Ginobili, and then it's also 8-0 on fast break hoops in San Antonio's favor, so nothing easy for Houston tonight.
And too many open shots for San Antonio. Ginobili not able to hit, but wide open once again.
I think they're so worried about penetration now that they're going to pack it in the lane. The Spurs will have some open looks from the perimeter in the second half.
Anderson meeting Ginobili off the dribble, then kicks it back. Here's Juwan Howard, rejected by Nesterovic. Houston maintains possession with 5 on the shot clock.
Spurs have kept Houston out of the middle all night long. That's what their defense is designed to do. Send people baseline into the help of Nesterovic and Duncan.
McGrady feeling it, so he's hit 2 in a row following the 0 for 7.
Talked about it before. Only the true superstars in this NBA can overcome an 0 for 7 half. Most guys are going to struggle an entire game if they get off to a start like that. McGrady unfazed. And
we touched on it earlier against the Nets Saturday night. Returns from the back injury, 1 for 9 in the first half, and then finishes with 35 points. Ginobili to the rim.
You can plan it, you can scheme it, you can talk about it, but it is almost impossible to keep Ginobili out of the lane. He's so good, he's so shifty, and he just finds angles that nobody else does.
Pushing foul on Nesterovic.
You know, Jeff Van Gundy talked about this play, the high screen for Ginobili. Yao Ming does what he's supposed to do, comes over and helps, but Ginobili just too quick and gets right around him to the rim.
McGrady eluding Duncan. Duncan tipped it from behind. Here's McGrady on the reverse. Oh, he is very much into it. Did not seem to be into it in the first half. Was trying to figure out where he was physically, I would think.
Yeah, but he's come out this second half with a purpose and actively looking to score, and he's gotten himself back into the game.
53-42, San Antonio. Nice fadeaway by Nesterovic. Spurs by 13. Rockets at 3-4 coming into tonight. This is the finale of a 5-game road trip. Last touch by the Spurs, and 22nd timeout is being taken by Houston. San Antonio at 6 up and 2 down. Looked like Derek Anderson took a shot.
Now let's see if we can see the replay. You're going to see Ginobili take a swipe, and well, he just clipped the ball, obviously. Anderson taking it on the noggin.
The NBA on TNT. Brought to you by the all-new 2006 Jeep Commander. The most capable 7-passenger 4x4. It's your world. Take command. And by PlayStation 2.
Reminder, national coverage of the NBA will continue this week. Tomorrow night, Friday night on ESPN. It's the Magic and the Cavs, followed by the Pistons and the Rockets, starting at 7 o'clock Eastern time. And then Saturday on NBA TV, Suns and Spurs coverage beginning 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. Derek Anderson, who a moment ago took that shot off the deflected ball. Derek involved in a Steve Kerr trade dealt by San Antonio along with Steve.
Get in
and
line.
A second rounder.
Get in line, Derek.
To Portland for Steve Smith. And you eventually returned to San Antonio. Foul on Nesterovic. Do you feel a bond with Derek? Off the trade?
Well, I was the great salary cap equalizer in that move, I think. But actually, Derek and I played together for 2 years, once here in San Antonio, once in Portland, and did become very friendly. Derek's a terrific guy and somebody who played very well for this Spurs team here back in 2000, but left for Portland basically for contractual reasons.
And spent the last 4 years with the Blazers. Here's McGrady from downtown. Yao able to hustle. He and Duncan go down. Duncan able to take it away from him. And now both hustle down court. Nesterovic working on Howard. Shot clock to 7. Duncan got the step.
How about the footwork? I think that's why Shaq calls him the big fundamental. Inside reverse pivot, faces Yao, fakes to the right, and then finishes going left.
15-point San Antonio lead. Offensive foul. Yao Ming surprised about the call made by Bob Delaney. He thought he was headed to the foul line.
Hey, Rasho Nesterovic's numbers are not great, but he plays an important role on this team. He stands his ground defensively. You see, not much contact there. Yao can't believe it. But Nesterovic is a smart defensive player, and he fits well into the Spurs system. Causes a lot of problems. Look at that pass.
Oh, what a backdoor pass. Ginobili to Parker on the hop. 17-point advantage for the Spurs. Alston was open. He passed on the perimeter shot and took to the rim.
Well, Alston has struggled with that perimeter shot so far here in the early part of the season, and what he did the other night in Minnesota to get himself going was get to the lane, get a couple of layups. He's got to do more of that.
He was hoping he was feeling some signs, going 5 of 9. When we passed him near the locker room when we were coming in earlier, he yelled out to you, Steve, can I borrow your jump shot?
Yeah, the problem is the legs go with it. He can have my jump shot, but if he takes the legs too, he's not going to be able to guard anybody.
Parker being played by Alston. Now you see Nesterovic setting the screen. And deflected out. Last touch by Alston. This is the second of our TNT doubleheader earlier tonight. T-Wolves in Minnesota defeated the Wizards 109-98. So Washington losing their second straight, lost to Cleveland last night. Kevin Garnett, 25 points, 13 rebounds, and 9 assists. Gilbert Arenas with 33. Shot clock to 5. Ginobili for 3. And Yao on the rebound. The other game tonight, Dallas defeats Atlanta 87-78. So the Mavs now 6-2, and the Hawks drop to 0-8. They double up on McGrady, and it's last touch by the Spurs.
Boy, Bowen just frustrates everybody he plays against. I think McGrady does an excellent job of not letting his frustration show.
Bowen has gotten under the skin of a lot of players in this league. Ray Allen, of course, last year. Kobe Bryant a little bit. But McGrady just plays, and even though he might be frustrated, he doesn't let his face show it. I think that's very important for a superstar player.
Nick Van Exel is checked back in for San Antonio. Van Exel defending on Anderson. Here's Anderson. Bowen with the rebound. Duncan now is guarded by Howard. Bowen is tripped.
Vintage Spurs basketball. They play excellent defense at one end. At the other, they're patient. They move the ball. Tim Duncan draws a double team, and that results in a driving opportunity for Bruce Bowen. And now he will go to the line for a rare free throw attempt. We talked about this before the game, Marv. San Antonio, surprisingly enough, is 29th in the NBA in free throw attempts. This is just their third trip to the line here tonight.
But they have really picked it up at the line. It's been a struggle the last couple of years, primarily because of the problems that Tim Duncan and Tony Parker and Bruce Bowen have had at the line. This year they're at 77% as a team, which is 9th in the league. And how about Duncan up to 83%?
Yeah, he's shooting the ball well, and I think maybe the theory is if they just go to the line less, then maybe they'll miss fewer. I don't know. But maybe that's the theory. I don't know. But that is a big concern for Greg Popovich, especially late in the games. And if that free throw percentage stays up, that just makes this team that much tougher to beat.
I know it's your feeling that Tim Duncan is much more relaxed this season. That has contributed to the improved free throw shooting.
I had a chance to talk to him a couple of weeks ago, and he said the summer off helped him. Remember, he's played so much international competition. He finally got a chance to relax last summer as Bowen again forces a difficult McGrady attempt. But I think the other thing is when you win 3 championships, you kind of feel like you're playing with the house's money after a while. You know, that there's less pressure. I mean, you can just go out and play, and I think that's what Duncan's doing.
Just under 6 minutes remaining in the third quarter. Here's McGrady, draws the foul. I think Bowen took a pop in the chin, and the foul is called on Bowen.
Clever play by McGrady, hearing the whistle and making sure he gets that shot attempt. Let's take a look, and you see Bowen once again harassing him, and a little elbow to the chin. Not called. The crowd sees it, obviously, and they're letting the officials know.
Tracy McGrady trying to lift his team. He has attempted 7 of Houston's 9 shots in this quarter. Tracy now 3 of 13 for the night and 5 of 5 at the line. That's his 12th point.
And Yao, who had the terrific first half, does not have a point here in the third quarter, so he has not been able to get on track. And that's been the story of the night for Houston. No offensive rhythm, no balance, and they're just trying to rely on one guy getting hot.
Spurs have led all the way. They've led by as many as 17 points. Shot clock at 5. Parker down to 1. Duncan has to fling it. Good defensive sequence by the Rockets. Reach and foul. That's 3 on Bowen.
And he doesn't like the call. And of course, he's upset still with the elbow that he received on the play before. But he's going to get called for the reach. You'll see McGrady go around the back here, and Bowen with the anticipation. Not a whole lot of contact, but a lot of times if you reach, you're going to get called regardless of whether you commit a foul or not.
Robert Horry has checked in for the Spurs. 5 minutes remaining in the third quarter. Marv Albert, Steve Kerr, Craig Sager. We are in San Antonio, Texas. Yao, sky hooked by Yao Ming, and a loose ball foul. It is on Horry for the push on Howard, and team foul number 4 against the Spurs.
And this is why both these coaches hate to double team. You saw the double come from San Antonio. That leads to the offensive rebounding opportunity on the other side of the hoop. And anytime you bring a double, your offensive, your rebounding capabilities are going to be compromised.
Correction, that was the 15th foul, so San Antonio is over the limit. And Howard able to take advantage. Very quiet night for Juwan Howard, who last week had that jump shot going. He's 0 for 4 tonight. That's his first point of the game.
He's such an important part of this team, too, because when you've got Yao Ming and Tracy McGrady, your four-man is going to attract a lot of open shots because of the defense that's going to be double-teaming those two superstars. Howard and Swift, critical components for this Rockets team if they're going to make some improvement this year.
San Antonio scoreless the last 3.5 minutes. Yao on the tip, gets it to Howard. Here comes Alston. Parker able to slow the dribble. Grady was trying to post. Now he's forced outside and fires over Bowen.
Boy, that's a tough shot.
Ori open for 3. Yes. That's the first field goal in 4 minutes for San Antonio. And that's certainly a familiar pose. Robert Ori hitting from downtown.
And I think that sequence right there at both ends of the floor kind of told the story. At one end, a forced 3 from McGrady. At the other, a wide open one from the Spurs. McGrady gets that one to go, but it's been a night of very difficult shot attempts for him and for the Rocket team. San Antonio, on the other hand, for the most part, having their way offensively, shooting 54%.
And Exel off the hesitation dribble. Deflected away, last touched by the Rockets. Spurs have 13 on the shot clock.
San Antonio almost goes exclusively to a pick and roll game when Van Exel comes into the ballgame. He's so good using that screen. He's so good using that glass with that little floater. But when he comes into the game, you see them go to that screen and roll, and their execution improves dramatically.
Spurs playing so well, they have not turned it over the last 18 minutes. They have only 6 on the night. Great for Alston, working hard, rebounded by Juwan Howard, rejected, and then the follow. Nick Van Exel says, why not a jump ball?
Very well could have been. Tony Parker will take the timeout, but excellent second effort from Juwan Howard.
So just under 3 minutes to play in this third quarter. And San Antonio maintaining the double-digit lead, up by 12. We'll be right back. Back in San Antonio with the Spurs up by 12. Steve, flashing back. Remember that play at the end of the first quarter? There was a last-second attempt by Tony Parker of San Antonio, which led to this discussion between referee Bob Delaney and the two head coaches.
I'm going to let you know before I go to the replay that we've got it starting 5/10 late.
There's no way it's 5/10 late. The guy took 3 dribbles with 1.5 on the clock.
What are we talking about?
We've got the clock starting late. It should have started.
I agree.
So it's 5/10 late. We go there. It's after.
That's right.
Okay.
I love the irony. You know, the call went Houston's way, and yet Van Gundy continued to argue. And yet Popovich, the call went against him. He said, yeah, I agree.
Jeff was just looking to argue with somebody. Whatever it was.
He was
didn't
bored.
matter. Greg Popovich on truth serum. Yeah. Nesterovic extends to a 66-52 San Antonio lead.
Well, you can't argue every call, so when you know they've gotten one right, you might as well go ahead and agree and tell them, yep, good job.
Ginobili off the steal. Rockets get back, and Manu resets.
That's a play he would not have made a couple of years ago. He would have gone 2-on-4 to the rim. You see the foul on Juwan Howard. But Manu Ginobili has matured considerably in the last few years, and of course Greg Popovich has harped on playing a little smarter. I think they've come to a nice balance in their understanding. Pop knows he's got to put up with a couple of turnovers a game from this guy because he's probably going to give you 8 or 9 spectacular plays as well.
That's his game. You live with that because of all the other stuff that he does. In fact, there is a turnover. McGrady pops it out. Here's Alston for 3. Rebounded by Nesterovic. Ginobili. And it's a blocking foul. Anderson took the hit.
It's almost impossible to draw a charge on Manu Ginobili because he changes directions so quickly at the last possible second. Does it better than anybody I've seen in the NBA. You think you have position on him, and then all of a sudden he just kind of veers off at the last second, and usually you get called for the block.
Spurs will put it in play. They are up by 14. They've led by as many as 17. Rockets with a 12-point opening quarter. They're low for the season. Rockets finishing up a 5-game road trip. San Antonio has played exceptionally well here tonight. Robert Horry again. So he shows us the long-range shot a moment ago as he hits the three. And now a beautiful turnaround pop to extend to a 16-point advantage.
4 for 4 for Robert Horry. Came into the game shooting about 37%. So, you know, he's having a good time here tonight.
It is all San Antonio. Ginobili, Parker, Van Exel, beautiful ball movement. And a foul as Horry hit the floor, very quick to get up. He's all right. Horry hit from behind.
That's brilliant basketball, and Popovich loves it. I saw him applauding the play when it finished. You see the steal, and then all of a sudden, about 3 or 4 passes, a wide open shot that's missed, and an offensive board. This is a team that is just well schooled, and they play extremely well together, and they put forth that effort every night. When they play like this, they're awfully tough to beat.
Foul on Anderson. Robert Horry to the free throw line. Robert now with 6, count them, 6 championship rings. 2 with Houston, 3 with the Lakers, and last season as a member of the Spurs. Well, it's the PGA Grand Slam of Golf, featuring Masters and British Open champion Tiger Woods. The Grand Slam next Tuesday at 7 o'clock p.m. only on TNT from Koiku Bay, Hawaii. And Steve, I know that you will actually be there, I'm told, as a consultant.
Yes.
The field includes Tiger Woods, U.S. Open champ Michael Campbell, the PGA champ Phil Mickelson, E.J. Singh. It's the Grand Slam of Golf next Tuesday, 7 o'clock on TNT.
Now, I'm just going to do the dirty work over there, make sure everything's running smoothly. You know, if Tiger needs some swing advice, I'll help him out as well.
Will you bring Chip Engelland with you? The shooting coach for the Spurs.
No wasted motion in free throws or golf swings, Marv.
So it's a 20-second timeout. Are you really going to Hawaii?
I am.
And why?
I am. Because I'm a broadcaster. I only work once a week. Because I can is the short answer. This is a great tournament. You see that field? Tiger, VJ, Michael Campbell, Mickelson, incredible.
So you are now officially going to basically every TNT event that is in a good location. That's what I get from this.
Yeah. And why wouldn't I? See, unlike you, I don't work like Monday Night Football and Nets games. And you know, you can work your 300 nights a year. I get
300 nights.
I'm just going once a week.
A minute left in the third quarter. 18-point San Antonio lead. And it's a 24-second violation. A very long night for the Houston Rockets, and they still have a quarter to go.
And that has to drive Van Gundy crazy. Out of a timeout, down 18, you design a play, and nothing comes of it. That's embarrassing for a coach, and yet you have to give credit to the Spurs defense. They have been very sharp here tonight.
Spurs have won 6 of their first 8 games. The 2 losses at Dallas, at Washington on the first and last games of the recent 5-game road trip. Grady tried to hustle it down. It was deflected out of bounds. Last touch by Horry. So it will be a Rocket ball.
Well, this has been an impressive display of depth by San Antonio tonight. We talked about the fact that Michael Finley and Brent Barry are both out with injuries, and yet San Antonio has come in here and played very well off the bench. Robert Horry and Nick Van Exel, of course. Got nice contributions from Nazi Muhammad and Beno Udrih. And this is an extremely deep team.
Foul is called on Juwan Howard, an illegal pick set by Howard. He was on the move at the top of the circle, so San Antonio will get it back. Spurs have maintained the superb shooting, 54% on the night.
And just 7 turnovers, as you saw there. So offensive efficiency has been really solid for San Antonio this evening.
5-second differential between the game clock and shot clock. Down to 2, Ginobili. And Swift had it knocked aside. Crowd felt it was last touched by Swift. It will be Houston ball with 4 seconds remaining in the quarter.
But watch Ginobili take a swipe at the ball right here, clearly raking Stromile Swift across the arm, and that's why the delayed call.
Jeff Van Gundy pleading for a foul call in a discussion with the official Bob Delaney. Howard inbounds to Head. And here is Head, too late. Rockets go scoreless the last 3 minutes of the third. After 3, all Spurs, they're up by 18 points.
Welcome back to San Antonio. It's been a long road trip for the Houston Rockets, 5 games in 8 days. Now Yao Ming was able to keep the team in the game in the first half despite the hobbled back by Tracy McGrady. In past years, the fourth quarter is a time when Yao Ming didn't have much stamina. But according to the Rockets, this is the best shape he's been in his 4 years. He is now weighing 310 pounds, which is about 25 more than he weighed when he first came into the league. His denser, has more muscle mass, and apparently throughout the weight room he is 80% stronger than he was 3 years ago. On top of that, you ought to be impressed with this. His body fat is down to 7.4. When he came into the league, it was around 10. Mark?
All right, Craig, it's been a solid night for Yao. Has not had much help. 18 points, 6 rebounds. For Yao Ming trying to jump out to help on Ginobili. Fourth quarter underway, and the Spurs with a 70-52 lead. Foul is called a push charge to David Wesley.
It's a bad foul. There's 8 seconds on the shot clock. You've got Ginobili 28 feet from the hoop. Spurs are out of sync offensively, and you just commit a cheap one out there. Now they get 14 seconds with which to work.
Bowen with Nesterovic and Ori up front. Udrih is back. Udrih and Ginobili in the backcourt. Here's Ori putting the move on Swift, and a foul, blocking foul called on Stromile Swift. Robert Ori will go to the line. Last season, San Antonio went 59-23. They finished second in the West behind Phoenix. In the postseason, beat Denver in 5, Seattle in 6, and Phoenix in 5 in the Western Conference Finals, and took Detroit in the NBA Finals in 7 for their second championship the past 3 years.
We talked to that man, Greg Popovich, today, and he said, you know, I don't know if we have the sense of urgency yet, and I think a lot of that is because they're coming off that championship, and this team knows how hard it is to win a title, and to defend it is even tougher. You're coming off less rest, and they know that there's a lot of work ahead of them, but they certainly have looked more focused here tonight and those last 3 quarters against Atlanta the other evening.
Here's McGrady, draws the foul. He was hit from behind by Bowen, so that's 4 on Bruce Bowen.
We'll see if Greg Popovich gives Melvin Sanders an opportunity. Remember, he said he might try him. He loved Sanders' defensive work ethic. Said Eddie Sutton taught him to be a Rottweiler at Oklahoma State, and he said if Bowen gets into foul trouble, we may give Sanders a chance, and we'll see if he'll get his opportunity.
Melvin Sanders out of Oklahoma State, recently signed as a free agent, was not drafted, played in the D-League, played well for the Spurs on their summer league team, averaging 16 a game. He did play briefly in the first half.
They hated to release him coming out of training camp, but there was a numbers issue, and now the Spurs injuries have given them a chance to re-sign Sanders.
Hate those numbers issues.
so do guys fighting for jobs.
Nesterovic off the mark, rebounded by Wesley. Yao pops it out. Here is Swift to the left hand.
A great feed from Yao Ming on the double team, and how about the left-hand finish from Swift, but not much else going tonight offensively for Houston.
Yao off the intercept. Here's Wesley going right at Udrih and draws the foul.
Oh, a rare turnover for San Antonio. That was just their 8th on the night. And Wesley doing the smart thing, taking it right into the defender. He knew he was going to draw a foul.
Quiet night for David Wesley. He's played only 15 minutes off the bench. He's made it back from a knee injury, was having difficulties with the shot early on, then had a couple of good ball games, and he has been coming off the bench with Jeff Van Gundy starting. The combination of Rafer Alston and Derek Anderson, and also going to the rookie Luther Head.
Well, that knee injury is definitely affecting his shooting, and he's admitted as much. Didn't get to work out as much as he wanted in the summer and has really struggled here trying to find that shooting stroke.
Ginobili. And they get the new clock. Ginobili again. Tim Duncan getting set to check back in. McGrady finds Wesley wide open. Wesley. Well, David Wesley knocks it down, and San Antonio now leads 72-58, leading to a Spurs timeout.
Nice to see Wesley knock one down. You can see he's been thinking too much about that jump shot, but gets the offensive board on his miss, and finally lets one fly and gets it to go.
Greg Popovich doesn't get nearly enough credit. You know, he's the Bill Belichick of the NBA. He is. He's brilliant. Everything from personnel to having a balanced team where offensively they're tremendous, defensively they're tremendous. They just have a great balance to their team because of his leadership and his eye for talent, and then how he develops the talent. So he's without peer in this league right now.
Well, I agree with Jeff Van Gundy. I had a chance to play for Popovich, and I saw him really grow as a coach as he watches his star player throw the ball out of bounds. But you know, he's putting up some numbers that put him in some elite company. You look at these names. Wow, I mean, these guys are Hall of Famers. But I think what happens is when a coach gets job security in the NBA, which is very rare, then he can become himself, and then he can relax and get to know his team and develop a comfort level. And I think Greg Popovich has grown as a coach dramatically in the last 4 or 5 years and become one of the best in the league.
Well, Greg's Spurs lead at 72-58, although they have not come up with a field goal over the last 4 minutes. They have missed their last 6 shots. 3 minutes gone by in the fourth quarter. Nesterovic with some room. McGrady saves it, batting it over to Wesley, but he stepped out, did not stay in bounds. It'll be San Antonio ball.
Well, it's been this kind of a night for Houston. 2 players fight for the offensive rebound. A great save by McGrady, but Wesley couldn't find anybody to pass the ball to, and Spurs retain possession.
Here is Duncan. They've missed their last 8 shots.
See the slight hesitation from Duncan. He was wide open. He probably should have either let it fly or moved the ball on. And now we've got an offensive foul, I believe, on David Wesley.
Yes, Wesley coming in contact with Melvin Sanders, who had just checked back in. We're talking a moment ago about Sanders, the rookie from Oklahoma State. He will inbound. So he and Parker in the backcourt. Duncan with Nesterovic and Bowen up front. 8.5 remaining in the fourth. Spurs in the midst of a drought, although they still have the comfortable lead. They're up by 14. Parker spinning, met by Yao, and that led to the traveling violation.
I think possibly all these different combinations that Popovich has had to go to because of the injuries to Barry and Finley has maybe thrown this team off a little bit here in the fourth quarter. They just can't seem to find any rhythm, and they were playing so well throughout the game that all of a sudden they've hit this drought.
Yao backs his way. McGrady is open for 3. Rebounded by Bowen.
Boy, that's the first good look Tracy McGrady has had in a long time, and frustrating did not knock it down.
Oh, McGrady nearly took it away. Nesterovic able to save it. Not a backcourt violation. It was deflected. Shot clock to 5. Here's Duncan. Rebounded by Yao. And you know that Greg Popovich does not take anything for granted. His head is off the mark with Tracy McGrady on the floor for Houston despite the big lead. There are visions of what took place last season as Nesterovic able to hit with that flip shot. One of the most memorable moments of the season a year ago, with McGrady scoring 13 points, the final 55 seconds, including that game-winning 3 to beat San Antonio by 1. And foul is called on Nesterovic. That is his third, but this is now a 16-point San Antonio lead. with 7 minutes to play.
Well, you're right. Popovich is not comfortable with that, but I think more importantly, he's not happy with the way this fourth quarter is going as it pertains to how this team goes forward. I mean, they're trying to build momentum and continue to play well and get better, and right now they're taking a step backwards.
Wesley from downtown. Spurs now lead by 13. So Sanders with it. The steal by Wesley. Wesley slapped away as Sanders took his eye off Wesley. Yao is pushed from behind by Duncan. That's his second.
Well, there's a spark of hope here for Houston as you see a couple of substitutions. Actually, Rafer Alston will come in for Luther Head. But you're right, as long as you've got McGrady and you can stay close, you've always got a chance. And they have an opportunity here to whittle this lead down. And you know Greg Popovich is not going to be comfortable until this buzzer goes off.
Here's McGrady fouled, hacked by Bowen, and that is 5 on Bowen.
Well, watch McGrady work without the ball. A little page out of Rip Hamilton's book. Come off the double screen, and Bowen looks like he got a little body and maybe some of the wrist. 5 for Bowen, and now the question is, does Popovich keep him out there?
Well, Van Exel getting set to come on. McGrady will go to the line. He's 7 of 8 at the line, and Houston will be shooting free throws the last 6.5 minutes. Spurs are over the foul limit. Right here, let's see what's on TBS.
Sunday, Ray Romano, Tom Hanks, Robin Williams, Dustin Hoffman, Ben Stiller, Leonardo DiCaprio, Larry David, Will Ferrell, and many more. Celebrate the Earth with the funniest people on it. TBS presents Earth to America. Premieres Sunday at 8/7 Central on TBS.
McGrady hits 1 of 2. It is now a 10-2 Rocket run. They're down by 12.
Well, remember early in the game they were getting killed with penetration. They've made this run by solidifying their defense, keeping the Spurs guards out of the lane.
Another steal. Parker lost it. Rafer Alston thought he was fouled. There was no call. Duncan off the fake. Nice ball movement. Parker rebounded by McGrady, and the Spurs are having their problems. Poor shooting in this fourth quarter by San Antonio. Good play by Ginobili getting up on McGrady. San Antonio just 1 of 8 from the field here in the fourth. Yao spinning on Nesterovic and draws the foul, so Yao will shoot 2. But first, a timeout taken with 5:39 remaining in the fourth. Rockets hanging around. They're down by 12.
The NBA on TNT, brought to you by the all-new Hyundai Sonata, a Hyundai like you've never seen before. By Best Buy, thousands of possibilities, get yours. By the United States Marine Corps, the few, the proud, the Marines. And by Jordan, be more.
By 7. Brady foul is picked up. It's a potential 4-point run over forward court. Yes. Brown lost it. Here comes McGrady. No timeouts remaining. McGrady for the win. Yes. Steal a game. Well, that was last December in Houston. Rockets down by 8 with 34 seconds left, and McGrady put on that sensational display. He finished with 33 points, and the Rockets came away with a remarkable victory. Right now, it's a 12-point San Antonio lead, 5:39 remaining in this fourth quarter, and it's all turned on San Antonio. They are 1 for 8 in the fourth. They've turned it over 5 times. Going back to the end of the third quarter, they are just 1 of their last 11 from the field. This after things were going so well.
Well, they're not getting to the line, Marvin, and that's one thing that teams have to do when they're in an offensive slump during a game. You got to be able to generate some easy points. Tim Duncan with 0 free throw attempts to this point tonight, and the Spurs as a team just 6 for 8.
And Duncan is fouled.
Looked like he sprained that left ankle, Marv. Remember last year he missed, I think, 16, actually 18 games with that that ankle. I don't think that one was bad, but you can hear this crowd just gasp. Yep, he stepped right on Wesley's foot. And boy, that hurts. We saw Shaq do that 2 weeks ago. That is so painful. And yet Duncan seems to be walking it off pretty well.
Foul on Yao Ming, his third, and Tim Duncan will go to the line for the first time tonight. He's at 83% at the free throw line this season after the 67% last year.
Remember, Greg Popovich told us today that Tim Duncan is so happy to have so many weapons around him that he feels like the pressure has been taken off of him. But I think the result at times is he's gotten a little less aggressive. You know, we've seen him take over so many games in the past by just dominating down low and demanding the ball. This team is probably more evenly balanced, but as a result, Duncan probably not as aggressive as he could be.
Watching Tim Duncan move down court, moving gingerly on that ankle. McGrady cannot find the shot. Good job by Ginobili. Shot clock down to 4. McGrady shoots for 3. Tracy McGrady from downtown. It's a 75-66 San Antonio lead. Spurs have led by as many as 20 points. It is now down to 9. Ginobili pops it out. This is Van Exel, guarded by Alston. Now Parker. Swept away from Yao, not able to hang on.
Oh, they needed that offensive or that defensive rebound. You can hear this crowd. They're nervous right now. Most of them were watching last year when McGrady put on his show, and they're feeling a little tension right now.
Shot clock to 6, and a foul against the Rockets. That's their 4th team foul. It's on Wesley. That's number 4. It's a non-shooting foul.
Does anybody shoot a three-point shot in this league more easily and more smoothly than Tracy McGrady? I mean, he's got a guy in his face. He really doesn't have his balance underneath him, and he just sort of turns and flings that thing up there. I've seen him take shots from 40 feet that look like 15-footers.
Drive on it, drive!
And here is Ginobili. Oh, what a play by Alston. Alston with the block. It'll be San Antonio ball with 6 on the 24.
So great help from Rafer Alston. This could have been a jump ball. You see him come over and get his hand on the ball. I guess he didn't have it long enough to be considered a jump, but now 6 seconds for the Spurs to get a shot off.
Down to 3, down to 2. Van Exel. And Duncan able to chase it down.
Boy, that's 2 straight offensive rebounds when Houston had a chance to go down to the other end and cut it to 6 or 7.
Just under 4 minutes remaining in this 4th quarter. Horry for 3. Yes! Robert Horry from beyond the three-point line. A huge bucket for the Spurs, who now lead by 12.
How many times have you said Robert Horry with the huge bucket? He does it time and again. And you see the Rockets collapsing on Duncan. That leaves Horry open, and Jeff Van Gundy's reaction.
Coming up next here on TNT, it is Inside the NBA, presented by Hyundai. NBA Planet will take you to South Africa with Coach John Thompson and Dikembe Mutombo of the Rockets. And we'll have more on Kevin Garnett's donation to Katrina Relief. Ernie, incidentally, playing hurt tonight, getting no sympathy at all. Charles and Kenny.
He's gutting it out.
Sad.
I don't think he expected much sympathy, though.
Inside the NBA, coming up next following the Rockets and the Spurs. Just under 4 minutes remaining in this 4th quarter. Enormous three-pointer for Robert Horry a moment ago. Here is McGrady. Tracy McGrady started out 0 for 7 from the field. He is now 6 of his last 12, and he has 21 points. 17 of the 21 in the second half. Horry for 3. Rebounded by McGrady. It's Horry's first miss. He had hit his previous 5. McGrady, yes, from downtown. And the Spurs lead is cut to 7.
Uh-oh, and he got hit. I thought that might have been a foul. And you see the effects of Bruce Bowen's 5th foul, and Bowen's going to get up off the bench to come in and cover him. But McGrady can get that shot off against Ginobili, not quite as easily against Bowen.
This is the closest the Rockets have been since back in the 2nd quarter. Shot clock is down to 5, and McGrady extending the arm, nearly came up with a steal.
How about this shot with Ginobili guarding him? Watch Ginobili get the hand in there. Does he hit him? Well, you can't quite see, but an incredible shot. He certainly felt that he was hit, but an amazing shot, and it's like on cue, Marv. I mean, this is exactly what happened last year.
And lots of time remaining. 2 minutes and 45 seconds to play. San Antonio's led by as many as 20. It's now a 7-point lead. Parker, nice fake on Alston. Tony Parker. Ray for Alston went for that fake, allowing Parker the open shot. San Antonio 80, Houston 71. So Bowen is back, defending on McGrady, who goes glass. It counts, and the foul.
Oh boy, here we go. Well, he's feeling it now. I mean, he knocks down a couple of threes. Now you have to play way up in him, and he's so quick and long that he can get around Bowen. And Duncan a little late with the help, but McGrady's so long with his arms, and he jumps so high, he can shoot right over the 7-foot Duncan.
McGrady with another three-point play. This the conventional style. He has scored the last 11 points for the Rockets. That last foul called on Duncan. It's a 6-point San Antonio lead with 2:15 remaining in the fourth. Horry came off the pick, met by Swift. Shot clock out of 5. Ginobili, you saw him check the clock, digging for the rim, and draws the foul.
Well, a terrific defensive possession for Houston for about 20 seconds. And then Wesley lets Ginobili get to the baseline. And he probably should have tried to force him over the screen towards his help, but Ginobili gets to the rim and draws the foul.
Foul called on Swift, Manu Ginobili. Usually around 80% at the line. San Antonio now leads by 7. When we talked with Rockets head coach Jeff Van Gundy earlier today after shoot-around, he said he did not expect that Tracy McGrady would be in uniform tonight because of a reoccurrence of the back spasm. Said the back was sore, and it turned out to be a game-time decision. And remember, he made his return Saturday night in the game against the Nets after sitting out 3 games because of the back injury. He was supposed to be out 3 weeks. Here he is again. He had that sensational game against the Nets. Here he is again, trying to lead his team, trying to do it single-handedly in this fourth quarter. They chase him to the far side. McGrady looking for Yao, but Parker is there. Parker off the steal is fouled.
Well, San Antonio was so conscious of McGrady at the other end that they were going to do whatever it took to get the ball out of his hands. You'll see Duncan jump out on the screen and roll. Bowen continues to chase. Ginobili's there, and he tries to find Yao Ming, but Ginobili with a great play, deflecting the ball, leads to the Parker free throws at the other end.
Foul on Alston. Parker just under 70% at the line. And both teams are over the foul limit. Rockets have 2 timeouts remaining. San Antonio has 2 full and a 20. But this looked to be a romp for the Spurs, who were playing exceptionally well, led by as many as 20, and they have received a scare down the stretch. They have that lead back up to 10. Bowen playing with the 5 fouls. Here's McGrady for 3. Rebounded by Ginobili.
Well, maybe the magic has run out on Tracy McGrady, but he put a scare into this crowd.
McGrady with 27 points following the 0 for 7 first half.
Of course, we're still not within 33 seconds,
right,
so you can't count the win yet.
Parker, rebounded by Wesley, hits the deck, and he's out of bounds.
You know, there have been 3 or 4 plays like that here tonight, Marv, where the Rockets secured a rebound and either lost it out of bounds or lost their footing. Take a look at Wesley getting the rebound. He thought he was fouled, and a little kick from Robert Horry probably should have been a foul, but he doesn't get the call.
And the Spurs have the full 24. Parker, Wesley with the rebound, looking to hurry it up. Here's Wesley, gives it up. Here's Barry now for 3. Yes, John Barry from deep in the corner. It is now a 7-point San Antonio lead. Rockets had it down to 6. a minute and a half ago. Now San Antonio playing the clock. 35 seconds left in the fourth. Shot clock down to 7. Parker is fouled. Rockets try to strip him, so Parker will go to the line.
Tony Parker's done an excellent job of taking over this game the last 2 minutes. The Spurs were in such a rut, and he came back with that aggressiveness. Remember, all first half and throughout the third quarter, he was getting into the lane at will. Rockets did a much better job defensively in the fourth quarter, but he's done an excellent job of increasing the pressure on that Houston defense, and he's helped carry this Spurs team the last couple minutes.
Tracy McGrady with 13 of his 27 points in the fourth quarter. But the Spurs doing the job at the line, and they now lead 86-77. Rockets take a timeout with 32 seconds to play in the fourth. Exclusive coverage of the NBA will continue next Thursday. We'll have a Thanksgiving night doubleheader for you. Game 1, it's LeBron James and the Cavaliers going up against Ron Artest, Jermaine O'Neal, and the Indiana Pacers. And in Game 2, Ray Allen, Rashard Lewis, and the Sonics in LA to go against Kobe Bryant and the Lakers. Coverage starting 8 o'clock p.m. with TNT NBA Tip-Off presented by Nokia. And be sure to check out TNT Overtime at NBA.com, featuring broadband content 7 days a week. As you see, 32 seconds left in the fourth quarter. Spurs with an 86-77 lead, thanks to our producer Scooter Patino, director Renato Lowe, and our statistician Brian Taylor. What can Tracy McGrady do in the final 30 seconds? Well, John Barry hit a 3 a moment ago and not able to hit right there, and then is called for the foul that will put Tony Parker back at the line with the Rockets over the foul limit.
You got to have a closer at the end of games, and Parker has been the closer for San Antonio. This crowd was pretty nervous with a few minutes to go. McGrady was going nuts, and Parker, with his penetration and with his free throw shooting, remember he's 4 for 4, has really kind of sealed this victory for San Antonio.
So McGrady with 23 of his 27 in the second half, along with 12 rebounds. Yao Ming with 19, but only 1 of the 19. 1 point in the second half. Tony Parker, 17 points, 8 assists. Tim Duncan, 19 points, 9 rebounds. Very quiet in the second half. Manu Ginobili at 15 points. Parker misses on both. Robert Horry off the bench, 5 of 6 from the field for 16 points. Here's Head for 3. That's his 3rd from downtown. And it's down to 6. Time running down. Rockets have to foul here. Ginobili just runs it out.
I don't know why they didn't foul. Down 6, there's still a chance to win. Luther Head had a chance to foul Bruce Bowen, a poor free throw shooter, and Jeff Van Gundy having a talk with his rookie right now.
Jeff is saying, why no foul? And Luther Head puts his head down and walks away, but that will do it. San Antonio Spurs with an 86-80 victory over the Houston Rockets. Spurs go to a record of 7-2, and the Rockets now 3-5. Marv Albert, Steve Kerr, and Greg Sager saying so long from San Antonio. Coming up in a moment, Inside the NBA, presented by Hyundai.